Did you know that enslaved black bodies were not just beaten or assaulted or worked to death, but eaten? Yes, people, eaten. Not in a way you think. I'm not talking just metaphorically. I'm not talking just economically. Some enslaved Africans were literally consumed, you all. They were cooked, dissected, and devoured by some of their white masters. Yes. And others, let me tell you what they did with some of their bodies. Their bodies were consumed in different ways, like through desire, through different fetishes and fetishizations, through the unchecked hunger of the white men who just saw them as objects, not people. This, my friends, this was slavery. This was America. And the most terrifying part, y'all, is that the hunger for black bodies never truly ended. See, this is not a conspiracy. Some of y'all are saying, hey, what's this woman talking about? This is not a conspiracy. This is not some shocking headline meant to scare you. This is history, y'all. This is real, documented history that has been buried because it's too horrifying for some white folk to confront. So they don't want you to know how grotesque and how just, for lack of a better word, demeaning and demonic American chattel slavery was. Today, I'm exposing it. Those of you who didn't know, sit back and relax. This is going to be a 3-part teaching. My teachings are 10 minutes each, so because I know everybody's attention span and you're busy. But today, I'm going to expose a brutal truth that many historians have ignored or they sanitized, they whitewashed it. The consumption of black bodies during slavery. I'm talking physically, sexually, and psychologically. We're going to break it down, and we're going to also break down the book, The Delectable Negro. It was written by Vincent Woodard. It is an eye-opening book that uncovers the way enslaved people weren't just used for labor, but were devoured. Actually devoured, y'all. So if you think you know anything about slavery, think again, baby, because after this, you're never going to see history or the world around you the same again. Guaranteed. All right.
What kind of troglodytes would eat another human being?
It was about power. You understand? It was control. It showed dominance. And slavery was one of the most horrifying forms of human consumption in history. So when you think about slavery, you all, most of us think of forced labor, right? You think about like the plantations and the whippings. You think about the backbreaking work in the fields. But what we don't talk about enough is how enslaved people were treated as something to be devoured. So I'm going to break it down into 3 areas of consumption, okay? The 3 major ways black bodies were consumed in slavery. One, I'm going to start with the literal consumption. Some enslaved people were actually eaten. Yes, you heard that right. Let's see my hearing out. Yes, there are documented cases of white enslavers using the flesh of black bodies for medical experiments, dissection, and in some cases, even food. Now sit with that for a minute. Just sit with that. And then you wonder where the Jeffrey Dahmers of the world and the Hannibal Lecters, even though that was a movie, but still, that wasn't something that was just made up. Art imitates life. Life imitates art. Jeffrey Dahmer, who were his target demographics? Black males. The second major way of black bodies during slavery was consumed was sexual consumption. Enslaved men, women, and children were used for sexual pleasure of the white men and white women. See, again, a lot of white men, they get all the slack. White women, you all just been sitting there fanning yourselves, but no, you were complicit as well. And you engaged in some very heinous sexual activities. The enslaved Africans, they were raped, bred, fetishized, their bodies existing solely for white desire.
Castrated.
Whatever white man wanted, they got out of that black slave. If they wanted hard work, they made them work. If they wanted sex, they made them sleep with them. Whatever they wanted. But that's what you do with something that's not human in your eyes, right? Then the third way of consumption is the economic consumption. Black bodies were turned into a product, a thing to be bought, sold, and discarded once they were no longer profitable. My God. So, let's recap.
Lord our God got a judgment for the wicked.
Slavery, literal consumption, actually consumed. Sexual consumption and economic consumption. Now, let's talk about cannibalism and the consumption of black flesh. And again, disclaimer, this information is graphic, but it's true. All right, let me ask you a question. Did enslavers actually eat black people? And the disturbing answer is yes, some of them did. This is the part of history no one wants to talk about. Okay, throughout the 19th century, the flesh of
the truth don't bother me.
Sometimes used in medical treatments. Medical students dissected black cadavers.
Truth don't bother us.
They had to steal them, stole them from the graves. There were even reports, chilling reports, undeniable reports of white enslavers and medical practitioners experimenting on enslaved people, treating them not just as test subjects,
The truth
but
will
as something
make
to be
you
consumed.
free.
Let me give you an example, okay? The medical cannibalism of enslaved people. It's been well documented, you all, that parts of enslaved bodies, like the skin, the fat, even the bones, were used in medicine. In the Caribbean, white plantation owners were known to make medicinal tonics from the body parts of dead enslaved people. They believed black flesh had healing properties.
Family, anytime you hear about slavery, the first thing that comes to your mind is forced labor. Big plantations, whippings, back-breaking works. Those are the first things you have in your head. But family, there was something deeper during slavery that the white man has always hidden from black folks, so that this generation of black people don't get to understand some of these things that their forefathers were made to do in America. Family, you'd be shocked, because in this video, this black sister has actually taken a time to expose some of the things that were hidden.
They skinned black people while they were yet alive.
Even before we proceed, slavery against black folks in America was very, very dark. This was a dark time for the forefathers then. Family, the slavery has a lot.
Imagine what they did to Nat Turner and even his wife.
Trauma. Black people in America today have that trauma in their
shoes.
Whatever
Women purses.
done during those days is heavy, family. And one thing that many folks are not told today is that black gold were being consumed in the time. This is one information that you rarely get anywhere on the internet. Family, I'm talking about 3 types of consumption. They were consuming black bodies, literally, eating black people. Black bodies were being used for medicinal works. Black bodies were being used as sexual objects. Black folks could be easily taken, and the white man could do anything he wants. Family, black bodies were used, for economic consumption. And in this video, we just want to dive deeper and get to listen to whatever our sister will tell us about, the history of black people and what has been hidden from us from the days of slavery. Once the video is done, we'll get back and do analysis about the same.
Instead of being
in a
slaves.
special way, and also want to take this opportunity to thank my subscribers who are supporting this channel by buying me a coffee. The link for buying a coffee is on the description box down below. Let us watch the video, then we will be right back.
That sentence alone, these white folk believed that the black flesh had healing properties. Why? Because of the melanin? Whatever the reason, do you see the psychology behind that?
I don't believe nobody. I don't believe no human on earth can be that ignorant.
There are stories, horrifying, sickening stories, you all, of enslavers
That's just
cutting
evil
off
and
body
wickedness.
parts as punishment and consuming them as a form of dominance.
Hatred.
These accounts didn't just appear in rumors; they were recorded by abolitionists and hidden in the margins of
that
history.
the Lord our God
If this
despised.
sounds too barbaric to be true, remember, the entire system of slavery was built on the complete dehumanization of black folk. So So when a person is no longer seen as human, anything can be done to them, including cannibalism, because again, they're not human. What kind of soul must these folks have had and some still have?
The devil out of hell.
This is why you don't want to talk to your children, because your children and your grandchildren are going to say, Papa, Mama, is this true? Did some white people do this? People, we're not talking about another part of the world. We're talking about here in America. Some of the larger plantations, like in North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland. We're not talking about Haiti. We're talking about American chattel slavery. And this is why you have the Project 2025, and this is why you want them to ban books. Not so you can walk in white guilt, but you can have to be accountable and see the sins of America.
Let's keep going. It won't be long.
The sexual consumption of black bodies.
It won't be long for Babylon.
Homoerotic gaze. Gaze, G-A-Z. When control becomes desire. Slavery was not just about work, y'all. It was about control in every sense of the word. Absolute control and dominance. And nothing exhorts more control over a person than ownership of their body.
Book of Revelation is just around the corner.
So, we talk about the rape of enslaved women a lot, right? But what about the sexual exploitation of the enslaved men? That's where buck-breaking came in, where they would come in and the white owners would sodomize that African man in front of his family many times to dehumanize him and emasculate him. White male slave owners didn't just rape enslaved women. Many of them also sexually violated black men. And actually, there were times, and it is recorded, that these white men will also have like plantation orgies. These white men would get together, bring in the big black bucks, as they would call the men, and have with them as they please. And it's not like those men were getting down. Those African men, it was not known. That was not even part of their culture. Even in some parts of Africa today, homosexuality is punishable by imprisonment and or death. So those were not willing homosexual participants. I'm going to stop here, and you will click on to the next video because we're going to finish part 2, talking about the sexual consumption of black bodies. I told you all, this is something else, y'all. I'm telling you, this is what they don't want you to know about American history. All right, people, this is part 2 of why black bodies were consumed literally and figuratively during slavery. So we talked about the literal consumption of black slaves, where their bodies were sometimes eaten, dissected, and more. Then we talked about now we're talking about the sexual consumption of black bodies. Historians have often erased a lot of this history. But this book by the name of The Delectable Negro was by Vincent Woodard, digs deep into this. And what he argues is that many enslavers were obsessed with black male bodies, not just for labor, but also for pleasure. And they owned these men completely. And for some, that ownership, you all, turned into an insatiable, forbidden desire. Like, think about it. A system built on white male power, white male dominance. You got enslaved men, strong men, powerful, unable to resist. You got these white enslavers obsessed with that type of control, that type of narcissism, and would force themselves on enslaved men to break them, to strip them of their masculinity, to make them submissive. This is not about love. This was not about desire in the way that we think it is today. It was about complete.
Like a living hell to live among narcissistic
used into every product, even more bold taste of your day.
The legacy of consumption, how it persists today. Yeah.
I want you to stop whatever you're doing right now, because what I'm about to tell you affects every single person that is watching this video. Not just nurses and not just healthcare workers, but every single person, because at some point in your lifetime, either you or someone you love is going to end up in a hospital. That's inevitable. And what's happening right now in the nursing profession in this country directly determines whether you get out of that hospital alive. And I'm not being dramatic. I am being a former bedside nurse, a cardiac nurse practitioner, a person who's worked in the cath lab, who runs clinics, who've actually watched the system from the inside. And it's time for us to have an honest conversation about what's happening. So today we're going to talk about the nursing crisis in America. The real one. Not that watered down version that you see on the news here and there every time a nurse makes a mistake. No. But the one nurses are living every single day, and they're either too afraid or they're too exhausted to say anything. So stick with me through this entire video, because by the end, I'm going to give you something that is real, something that's actionable, not just for nurses, but for every single human being that has to interact with the healthcare system. And if you're new here, my name is Aisha Nicole, and if you've seen my face before, you already know that we are 100% locked in, so welcome back to the channel. So
Peace and blessings, all praises due to the Most High. And it is police officers like that, I feel, I just want to say, that should be like. It's scary, to be honest.
You could have written a book and said, I think that we did a great job ending slavery, which we did. But I don't know if this is just because it helps you become a bestseller, but you have this line, the tyranny of imaginary guilt. You're a Christian theologian, and you're saying we shouldn't feel guilty at all about 3 million Africans being taken out of their homes and moved to across the Atlantic? That's the guilt is imaginary? Why can't we have guilt and also believe everything you just said?
First of all, we can only feel guilt for something we did.
We did. We did take 3 million people out of Africa.
You and I didn't. No, you and I didn't. I can lament what some of our ancestors did. I can't feel guilty for it.
So that means hold on. So you're telling me with a straight face you don't take pride in Britain in us defeating the Nazis in World War II? You've never taken pride in that?
I take pride in it. I admire the fact of what
How can you take pride in it? It's not us.
Well, no, of course. I can't claim the credit for having done that, because I didn't. My parents did. I didn't.
We as British people take pride.
Only indirectly.
So why don't we take guilt indirectly?
In terms of guilt, because you cannot be guilty for something you didn't do. You can be responsible for the effects. You can't be guilty for it.
But you can take pride in something you didn't do. But you can take pride in something you didn't do.
Metaphorically. So I prefer to use the word admiration now.
This present generation of white people can say, we never did nothing to no black person. And some of you can boast, and in truth, you have not. But you live deliciously from the sweat and the blood of those who reap down your fathers and grandfathers and great-grandfathers' fields. We fought, bled, and died to make America free. For you, not for us, evidently, because we haven't been free yet. Our bodies are on every foreign battlefield to make the world safe for democracy, but not for us. For you all. Now here we are, 430 years of abuse.
White people did go through slavery within the United States. However, allow me to explain a few things.
Did you know that enslaved obsessed with that type of control, that type of narcissist reminds me of? It's symbolic because it's still the white man is wielding and holds all the power to that black man's destiny. Let's go, okay? Except now, instead of the enslaver, it's a billionaire team owner, like I said, or a record executive making all the profit. The prison. the prison industrial complex. Black men are disproportionately arrested, incarcerated, and used as free and cheap labor in a modern-day version of economic consumption. The U.S. prison system is just another way of ensuring that black bodies remain valuable commodities. And that is why black folk, we have to teach our children, our black males particularly, that fast money is not the best money, because you're going to end up behind bars. Now, let's talk about fetishization and sexualization of black people. Think about the way black men and women are over-sexualized in media. The way our bodies are exoticized and fetishized and desired while our humanity is ignored. Oh, they'll watch us perform for them. Hell, you go to strip club, watch them strip. But will you hire that young woman when she finishes law school to work at your firm? The echoes of slavery's sexual consumption are still alive in how society views and treats black people today. Now, let me say this. I am not blaming a lot of how we are portrayed. Now, it has nothing to do with white folk. A lot of it is just our own fault. I'm sorry. I don't care. Yes, if you're entertained, you do what you want. But the sexy reds of the world, those are not black female role models. And if those are the only images that some of these other continents and countries are showing of black people, no wonder they think that black women ain't nothing but garden tools. Okay? So, we have a part to play in this representation and how people see us as well. The slaves did not. We, as black people today, we do. So, I wanted to go back. Let me go back. I'm going through my notes, y'all. Going through my notes.
I had enough of this crap.
Here we go.